Welcome to a new transfer reaction. I'm Diyar, joined by Hambo and Patrick for the reaction of Michy Batshuayi. He's here, Batsman. I know Hambo doesn't like that phrase, but Batsman is at Palace. It's a loan transfer, but an option to buy at the end of it. So, gents, let's quickly get your reactions. Hambo, Batshuayi at Palace. I know you're not a massive fan of this, and you're not as excited as I am by the transfer, but share your thoughts.
I'm certainly not talking as loudly as you, DR. Well, I am. I think it's fair to say it's we talked about it in the show the other day. My actual instant reaction is I'm extremely happy about it, and it's not so much that I don't rate him. It's just that I was really nervous about it because, first of all, I felt we really needed someone like Conor Gallagher to mix up the midfield. So I was a little bit frustrated that we let that go. We're just too samey in the middle of the park, and it's all very well having a striker, but you've still got to create. Having said that, we have been in desperate need for a forward for a long, long time. And I felt people were getting really excited. Everyone's talking about his scoring record, and I just felt, look, you have to try to make yourself remember the games where we weren't playing well and that he was ineffective, because you've got to temper those expectations a bit. That doesn't mean I'm not excited to get him and it's not a brilliant signing, because it absolutely is. And I'll be honest, with every kind of passing moment, my excitement is actually growing further and further. So it's a great deal, especially that it's loan to buy. That's inspiring. But just like a little bit of a tempering of expectations would help me deal with it better, because we haven't been in great form for the whole calendar year, let's face it. And the idea that we're suddenly he's going to score 1 in 2 for the whole season, I think we've got to just be a little bit mindful of that. Having said that, DR, later on we're going to come to some other suggested transfers, and if we get all of those, then you'll see a very different Hambo. I'll be positively beaming with excitement.
Patrick, tell me you're not like Hambo. Tell me you're excited.
No, I'm actually a lot like Hambo. I'm not going to lie. I honestly am. I'm glad that it's done and we need a striker. I mean, but again, it's tempered by the following. We haven't had a striker since Benteke scored 17. I love Jordan Ayew, but he's not a quote unquote striker. So I'm excited, but this is the thing. I don't want to go crazy over it, and then him disappoint. And that's what I do with most of the Palace signings. I don't want to go over the top, but I obviously want him to do well. I like what he did in the first go around with us was good. It was 6 months, from January to actually 5 months from May. He scored 2 in that last game. Bournemouth meant nothing, but again, does he fit Roy's system? I certainly hope so. I'm going back now. I'm actually over my shoulder and I'm looking at the Newcastle away win from that season when he was taken off after 60 minutes for Benteke. That happened quite a bit that first time out. So I'm really hoping that Roy finds a way to use him. He fits in the system. He's got to work harder. He's got tremendous skill. He's a poacher. I mean, the left goal is a perfect example of that. The goal he got to Watford when he stole it off the defender and scored is an example of that. He can score. My concerns are that he didn't score a lot when he went back to Chelsea at all, and he had opportunities there to score. He couldn't displace either Abraham or Giroud. But again, we're in desperate need of a striker. So at this point, I welcome him. He's got a great personality. I love what he did with the Twitter account this morning. How he announced it before Palace did. So I'm all for that. I just really hope it works out.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because as we're speaking right now, Palace still haven't announced it, but we're hopeful. And we will look like absolute fools if we're reacting to a transfer that doesn't happen. But I'm hopeful that it will be announced sooner rather than later. And we're just not talking about someone who won't be joining Palace, because he announced it, as Patrick said, on his Twitter account. And there's also that contract extension at Chelsea that hasn't been announced yet. So I feel like Palace are just waiting on that and other social media things before they announce it.
Yeah, just to make a point, I know Patrick wants to make one too. There was an occasion where Palace announced a player on their official website that still didn't sign. I think it was Aliou Cisse from Birmingham. He announced a year-long loan. We had a picture of him holding a Palace scarf or whatever, and then he joined somebody else. So West Ham, I think. But so let's not count our chickens till he's actually physically playing for us. But no, it's a done deal, isn't it?
I noticed that as far as the announcement, Grierson is actually up at Newcastle doing a Rambo interview. So that might be something to do with it too. Yeah, so who knows? Maybe they don't have time to announce it today, and they'll just do a Palace thing and announce it tomorrow afternoon sometime when everyone goes to bed.
I feel really bad. Last time we spoke to Rambo, before we started broadcasting, I was teasing him about the Newcastle takeover because he was going on about how he was, oh, it's so good to get it finally. Sort of, I was like, wouldn't it be really funny, Rambo, if it didn't work? It didn't happen though. And he's like, don't say that to a Newcastle fan. I was like, but yeah, it would be funny though, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where he actually fits into this Palace side. So for me, I think he's a starting striker. And he plays alongside either Wilfried Zaha or Jordan Ayew, one of them two. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think obviously, if you look at our formation from pre-season, the 4-4-2, I think it gives us some interesting flexibility because clearly the fact we missed out on Ryan Fraser is a factor here, and it sort of caused us to change our mind on a few things and look at some other options which we'd brilliantly lined up. So I think there's an interesting thought around Zaha and the fact that he can obviously offer a player position out wide. But I agree with you, and I think it's much more likely currently, unless we make another signing, that we'd start the Southampton game with Jordan Ayew on the right-hand side because he does the hard work defensively. Can play out wide comfortably. He's a goal threat. He's more direct than Townsend's been. He's been better form than Townsend. So I think you'll see Batshuayi and Zaha as a front pairing, and you'll see Ayew on the right and probably Townsend or Eze on the left. Sorry, Townsend or Eze. Schlupp or Eze on the left.
Yeah. Patrick, do you see how as a starter?
Yeah, I think Hambo's nailed it. But I think when everyone's healthy, what I'd like to see as an attacking or as a midfield and attack would be to see Eze left, Gyro and Luca in the middle, with Townsend or Ayew on the right, with Batshuayi and Wolf up top. That's what I'd like to see. Whether everybody's healthy, you got options off the bench. You'd have Ayew or Townsend off the bench. You'd have Schlupp off the bench. You'd have MacArthur off the bench. You'd have my favorite Max Myra, who I didn't mention, off the bench. I mean, you're talking about having quality off the bench we haven't had. Whether our manager decided to put them on at any point during the matches or doesn't all together, and that's my concern. Having a great quality depth in squad, and not seeing more than 12 players a match, but with one sub going on. But like I said, that would be great.
Believe, Patrick. Believe. He's going to use the subs,
and then
at 70 minutes, he's going to use the subs.
As we get later on into the more addition we're going to get, if we add the players that we think we're going to add also. No one can complain, and I mean no one can complain that he doesn't have options, and he better start making some subs.
That's the thing now. You can't complain. If you're Roy Hodgson, before I'll admit it, he wasn't backed as much, but this window, with Batshuayi coming in, with Eze coming in, with Ferguson coming in, and other two couple transfers that we'll be talking about in a couple seconds where potentials come in, if they do all happen in this window, Roy Hodgson has zero excuses. I'm sorry, but he cannot complain at all about the squad because he will have depth going forward. Also in right back, we have a better right back option. So it's up to him now. If he performs, then yes. If he doesn't, then he'll have to go. Simple as.
Yeah, I see Jay in the comments there is basically echoing what Patrick was saying and what we were kind of hinting at in having Eze on the left, Ayew on the right with Zaha and Batshuayi. I mean that when you read that out, and the more you read it out, the more brilliant it sounds, doesn't it? The more refreshing it sounds, and you think that some of the struggles we had last year in even putting enough attackers out. I think you just got to have that slight change in attitude from Hodgson. Do you remember last season he talked so much and he just named 3 players as the attackers, and that's how we played. We defended with everybody but the 3 he said were attackers, and even they had to spend half their time back defending. So it was kind of like, as long as he now gets that confidence in that squad to adjust that way of thinking, when you start to read those 4 names now, and even if it is just those 4 names attacking with the occasional bit of support from midfield, you feel a lot more confident about our ability to create and score goals, I think.
Yeah, and the thing is, looking at pre-season and Zaha being now up front now, because the thing with Wolf being out wide is he always had to track back. You used to think about Wolf now in a free role up front where he could drop into the midfield, go wide, stay up top. It just opens up, from an attacking standpoint, so many more options for us. And again, we only saw it for a half, but to think about him and Eze together. And again, I watched the game. Batshuayi, for one thing, he linked up great with Wolf when he was here the first time. Really did. And with Townsend. And to see that on a full-time basis is really exciting. And again, we're talking about having him from September as opposed to from January. So again, I'm not over the top, but I will look forward to it once everyone's healthy. We got those, like you said, those attacking four is going to be brilliant to watch.
Yeah. So there's a question suggesting, is there an option to buy? According to Dom Fifield, there is an option to buy. It's not obligation. So if he does perform for Palace, we can go out there and buy him. If he doesn't, then, he could go back to Chelsea, because it's rumored that he will sign a new deal with Chelsea. So he won't be a free agent come end of next season.
That tells you all you need to know about the situation with Chelsea. Their only option at the moment, no one's coming in to buy him now, but Palace obviously are interested in the loan. And if you read, I think it's sort of in pretty much all the articles, if you read the reasoning behind that, it's really quite, positive for us, because it's not about Palace not having the money to buy him now if we wanted to. It's about the fact that we've got so much we want to do in this window that by having the loan, that extra year at Chelsea and the option to buy, as you're quite right, it's not an obligation, but it means we kick that fee down the line. If he gets injured, it gives us that bit of protection, and Chelsea as well. But more importantly, it gives us a significant sum of money that we still can spend in this window, and that's the really exciting part. You think about the three we've got in, and let's face it, we have got Batshuayi in. So Ferguson, Eze, and Batshuayi, they're in. You'd be almost satisfied with that as a transfer window, especially with the way Palace have been in the windows lately. But we're looking at potentially 2, maybe even 3 more, and big players as well. So that could be good.
That's what puts a smile on my face. Yes, the Batshuayi signing is brilliant, but let's now go and talk about the other rumours that Don Fifield included in his report. So he said there are options to re-enter the market, and further attacking recruits would be welcome. So it's not like we're done with attacking recruits. There is strong interest in Benrahma, the Brentford player, and Ismail Sarr at Watford, as well as Brewster. So one of them 3 players, and boy,
or
this
2
team,
or 3.
Exactly. This squad looks different. It's a completely different squad. But I'll mention this, people also saying that Eze should play out, as an attacking midfielder. Let's be honest, that is probably his best position, but he's not going to play there with Roy Hodgson. So that's why we're saying that he'll play on the left-hand side. But yes, so them 3 players. So Patrick, I'll go to you first. Out of them 3, any of them, me personally, I'm happy with. But I guess for you, who would be the most exciting player on that list if we were to get at them?
I'm a huge Ryan Brewster fan. I really am. I watched him a lot in the Under 17 World Cup with Foden, and I think he's brilliant. He's got a lot of goals in that World Cup, and I really like him as a player. I know he went out on loan last year to Swansea and did really well for Swansea. I mean, they made the playoffs. So I would be really excited to get Brewster. I don't know what it would look like. I'm thinking it's probably a loan with an option to buy. If it was a straight out buy, I'd jump all over it. His age, I think he's Foden's age. He's got to be 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So he's very young. That's the kind of deal you want to get, like you did with Eze. You sign him for 4 or 5 years. I'm so excited about the recruitment. I know we've criticized it in the past, but now we're looking at players that are younger, locking them down to longer term contracts. It's like we actually have a plan. But out of those 3, I would go with him first, and after them would be Benrahma. But the thing with Benrahma is that under Roy, I can't see him flourishing. I just don't see a player. As much as I've watched him with Brentford, I watched him in the playoffs. I think he's a very, very good player, technically gifted, very creative. But I just don't see him and Eze and Wilf in the same team under Hodgson. It just is. It's too much. What do you call it? It was actually Source FC. Is that what they call it? That's what we call it. But it would be too much. It's just too much. I couldn't. I don't think it would work. But again, I take Brewster first.
Hambo, are you in the same boat with Brewster? Personally, I would take Benrahma or Ismail Sarr above Brewster. But then again, realistically, think about them signings. It will be more difficult, especially considering that Brewster, he's a youngster. Maybe he won't get as much game time at Liverpool, so they might loan him out. Right. But what's your thoughts?
I think, first of all, I would say Sarr, I don't expect us to do that deal. But I mean, it's great to have interest in him. But I think there are bigger teams interested. They're strongly linked with Liverpool, isn't he, at the moment? So I think that's going to be a tough one to do. And I think probably because of the money as well. There's talk of 40 million there, and I don't think we're going to spend that on one player. So, but a fantastic player and really started coming into his own when he settled at Watford. And I know we'd had interest before in him. So, but I think that's kind of that a lot of things would have to align for that one to happen, I think. But so I would kind of almost ignore that one and say, Benrahma rated the best player in the Championship last season, not just in various articles, but when you actually start looking what the fans of opposition clubs who watched him play against their teams, if you praise an opposition player, he's good. Because quite often, what we do every time we play against a team where they've got a good player, we say he's overrated and he dives just like they do to our best player. So that's the rule. So if you stop yourself and go, actually, he's really good. And I remember Mahrez playing for Leicester against us a long time ago, and before he kind of really kicked on, and I just looked at him and thought, I don't want to say it, but he's better than anything we got at the moment. He was. We actually won the game. I can't remember. Somehow we won the game. They couldn't break us down. But he was head and shoulders above everybody else on the pitch. And I look at Benrahma and the bits I've seen of him, and he reminds me of that type of player. He's probably a little less pacey than that, although he's not slow. But the level of skill and the speed of thought is extremely impressive. Untried, untested at Premier League, of course, but really excited about that one. And Patrick said it all about Brewster. He is a kid. He's not got a lot of experience, but to go on loan to Swansea, to be so impressive with them, although Gallagher was responsible for a lot of the assists if you look at the pictures. But yeah, but to go and do what he did, to be that impressive, and you look at his youth scoring record, I think that one's all about investment in the future. That one's all about having an option off the bench for up front, having an option if you need to change something or if you get injuries and things like that. But really, if they're talking about selling him. If you can get in now at 20 years old for even if it's 20 million quid, that is, if he gets anywhere close to his potential, that is a fantastic piece of business, because you'll go and sell him for 3-4 times that later on. He really has that capability.
Yeah, we got a comment from Bermansky. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. But Eze and Ferg have no Premier League games. Love the signing, but no guarantees that they'll have a big impact. Yeah, that's a gamble. When you sign young players, they don't have as much experience, of course, but then you rely on their talents. And with Eze, even though he played 45 minutes, he looked very good in that game against Charlton. And when you look at his career at QPR, he looked like a positive and creative player. So these transfers are always going to be a gamble, but it's a gamble worth taking. And plus, a positive news for Eze is that he was back at training. There were photos of him today going back to training. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he could be ready for the Southampton game. Yeah,
I mean, the Beautiful Game podcast tweeted that he's fit to start the game if he's selected to start the game. So that's good news. But I do want to say with Bermansky, he is right to urge a bit of caution there. The thing that the comfort I get is, first of all, we saw him for 45 minutes against Oxford, but he looked the real deal, did Eze. But he will be. He will be up and down in form, as any young player who hasn't played at the top level is. But again, if you listen to what the fans say about him, what the QPR fans say, what the opposition fans said, you can get a lot of confidence from that. And the same for Ferguson. There's people within the game. I can't remember who it was who was talking in an article I read the other day, who said, he's going right to the top. He's not just a good defender and a good right back who can play across the back line. He is exceptional and will reach the very, very top. So that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and the thing I'd like to add is that I get what Bermansky's saying about them not having Premier League experience, but when you think about, would you rather get a top Championship player or players off of a relegated Premier League side? Look at Fraser and Callum Wilson. Both went to Newcastle. Everyone's praising how great of signings they are for Newcastle, how Newcastle going to have a great season this season. But both of them were on the team that got relegated. So, again, it's a catch-22. I'd rather have the younger player who's hungrier in the Championship that's going to progress more than a player that was on a relegated side. Again, no offense to Fraser and Wilson. I think they're both very good players. But I like the signing from the standpoint like they can grow. So let's see what happens.
Exactly. We've got Jay saying, any news on Bright Samuel? Also, do you want him? Interesting thing, Dom didn't mention Bright Samuel in this article. So we've seen reports of Bright Samuel being linked. It's not like I'll be over the moon if we get him, but he would be a positive signing in my opinion. But the names that's been mentioned, Sarr, Benrahma, personally, I'd prefer them over Bright Samuels. But Hambo, I haven't heard of you talk about Bright Samuels as much.
Well, no, I would say all that really reflects is probably that we're quite confident of getting our preferred options. We've had a few links with Bright Samuel, but I think again at 22 and at Championship level, playing for the team he's playing for. I don't know. From all accounts, he didn't stand out the same way that Eza stood out, right? So I think it's asking a lot for him to make that step up and be as effective as someone like Benrahma, who, as I say, best player in that division by all accounts. So I think there's a lot to be said for going out there and trying to line up as many deals as you can. So if one fails, you've got another option to go for. And I suspect that's what the case is with Bright Asir Samuel, is that he's an option that we've explored. There's probably no real bid there or no discussion of terms or anything like that. And we might revisit it. Or it might just be paper talk and we were never interested in the first place. But I think, Dom in The Athletic is never, off the mark with what he says. So we know who our targets are. And that's good. And we've got a question in there, Diyar, about some other targets that were mentioned in that article as well. Well, one other target there.
Yeah, but I know Patrick. Yeah, go on, Patrick.
Actually, you did. Yeah, the bottom of the articles does say the likes of Ipswich Town's midfielder Flynn Downs and Armel Bella-Kotchap, a centre half at German club Bochum, could yet move to South London. So the likes of, he names two, but who knows? Maybe Bright Sam is one of those likes of. There might be, he could be there too.
Yeah, but Bella-Kotchap, another player, has been linked for a very long time. But it's interesting because at the start of, when last season ended, you'd think Bella-Kotchap can't fit into this Palace side. But when you look at it now, we've had so many injuries where this player who might join the under-23s might be starting for Palace soon. So hopefully Bella-Kotchap, another young centre-back. And it's proven that we need another young centre-back because we've seen it. These players are getting older. And as they get older, they'll be more injury-prone. So Bella-Kotchap, in my opinion, would be a positive signing.
Yeah, you've got to look at Palace, whether they've said it directly or it's just been through the media. You can see the sort of the two-pronged attack, if you like, getting young players, who are capable of playing in the Premier League is one sort of prong, if you like, and the other prong is getting some younger players who are maybe a season or so off the Premier League, could probably contribute off the bench if needed. But really, they're about buying some talent in, and with those, there's not really a rush to do that. There's not really a rush to get Bella-Kotchap signed up. Right. If it goes over to the next window, it goes over to the next window. I'm sure they'd like to get it done. Same with Flynn Downs. Clearly, there's Palace interest there. Clearly, we've annoyed Ipswich by not bidding the money that they wanted. But that's because we're not in a rush to do that deal. He's not coming in to start. So those are two really potentially exciting players if you're going by reputation, but that's all we can really go by because I've never watched Flynn Downs play football other than in YouTube highlights, and the only thing I know about Bella-Kotchap's potential is how good he's been for me on Football Manager. So there really is 9 years at Palace and he's an icon. If people who play Football Manager will know the significance of that. So there you go.
People have been asking where was Michy announced. Michy isn't properly announced by the club yet, but Michy tweeted out, I think a couple hours ago now, of basically that he's going to be at Palace, tweeted a Batman sign, and it suggested that he's going to be joining Palace. But our suggestions is that potentially maybe that he hasn't signed a Chelsea contract extension yet, plus the Palace social media team might not be ready for the announcement. So hopefully he is signed, but we're pretty sure that he will be. It'll be quite drastic if he isn't at this point.
They like to tease us, but all I'm going to say is, The Athletic don't put an article out stating he has signed if he hasn't signed. Right. They would put an article out as saying he's about to sign or he will sign tomorrow, because loads of people have done that in the past, including them. If they put an article out that says he has signed, he has signed. So no fears on that. I know, and I've even told the story of someone appearing on the Palace website earlier and still not signing for Palace. So obviously there's always something that can probably make everyone look stupid, but in reality it's a done deal. The guy is on Twitter liking people's posts welcoming him back to Palace.
Exactly.
He's not good. He has no subtlety. He was asked about it in an interview after the Belgium game, and he said, "Yeah." He's liking stuff on Twitter. He's posting images of of the Batman symbol. He's a Palace player for next season and hopefully beyond. So you can put your worries at rest there.
Time has flew by. We've been talking about transfers for 25 minutes now. I haven't even realised. But let's just round it up. So, gents, what's your goal predictions for Michy Batshuayi next season. I'll start with you, Hambo. You don't sound impressed by that.
Don't start with me. Come on. I think people are kind of thinking it was like if you go to what people are expecting, the 1 in 2, people are talking about 20 goals a season already. I will be absolutely delighted if we get that, but I got 9 last year, didn't he? I'd be really disappointed if it wasn't, say, let's call it something like 14 would be my prediction. If he stays fit the whole season.
Sorry to cut you off, but Palace just tweeted it, and as we were talking about it, they'll announce it sooner rather than later. But what's your favourite sequel? And the number 23 is up, so suggesting that Michy Batshuayi is coming back to Palace. We already knew this because we're talking about it right now. But yes, Palace have tweeted it out to make it all official.
They are so good. They are.
Yeah. They're waiting for that. Exactly.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's extremely exciting. I have got to stop and say a big hi to Lucy and Emily. Hello.
Yeah. All right, Patrick, what about your goal predictions?
You just don't care, do you, Diyar?
This is what Palace have just tweeted. See it right there. See?
Yeah. So
wait, 23. There you go.
23. 23 goals?
20. No. Not for me. No. Hambo took my number 14, so I won't go with that. I'll say 16 goals. I'd like to see at least. Yeah, I mean, I was going to go for 17 and Benteke ahead, but that's a lot to ask for. If he plays the full season and Roy fits him in, and I temper that by this, it has to be with Wolf played up front the entire season with him. With Wolf with him, I think he can get 6. And without Wolf, I'm going to definitely go down to maybe 10. But with Wolf by his side, I think 16. I think Wolf will get at least 10 this season also, by the way, just in case you didn't ask me.
I'm probably being the most exciting one, but my goal prediction is like 12.
Look at
that. My goal prediction is like 12 for next season. I would be happy with 12, considering that I scored how many last season and we were all over the moon. So if a striker on the Hodgson system scores 12 goals, I'll be happy. That's my expectations going into.
I couldn't help but notice if you had Patrick's prediction for Batshuayi and prediction for Wilf. Yeah, you're 4 goals off what we scored all season last year, aren't we? Aren't you?
I realised that when I said it, yeah.
But hey, good to see you positive, Patrick.
Yeah.
Been a while.
So just wait till Sunday.
All right. Last couple comments before we end this. Hope you guys have been enjoying the stream. If you have, leave a like and subscribe so that some future content. So Zach says, I can see Michy getting 13 goals and a few assists. Yeah, I think that's realistic. I'm about there with you. Exciting looking front line for sure. Damn right. It is looking very exciting with all these signings. Jack says Palace released a tease to Michy. Yes, as we were live, they released it. And Paul from Germany says, hope I haven't missed too much. Well, Paul, Batshuayi is at Palace. Apart from that, yeah, you haven't missed too much. And it seems like there will be other signings coming. Yeah, more to come as well, Paul. So go and watch back on YouTube after this. And yes, so Batshuayi is at Palace. Leave down your comments down below. Let us know what you think. And if you have enjoyed it, as always, like and subscribe. And until next time, up the Palace.